Yeah, because she, we kind of.
Welcome back, folks. So are we ready to pick up, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, okay, so can you please invite the jury in, please? Thanks.
It's a good last name to have for a writer, isn't it, on the page? So I'm going to ask you some questions to follow up on some things that Mr. Prestia asked you, if that's all right.
That is fine.
Just off the top, oh, by the way, I've been warned that you and I tend to not finish sentences. So
Yeah, ramble on.
we got to keep one person in this courtroom very happy. And so I'll try to speak slowly and ask you to do the same.
All right, will do.
All right. You've come out here all the way from Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
And when did you arrive? Last night?
Yeah, it was last night, yes.
And you have never met Michelle Anderson.
No.
And you've never met Joseph McEnroe.
No.
You never had any communication with Joseph McEnroe other than you forwarded a letter from Michelle Anderson to him.
Yeah, and even that wasn't really any interaction of sorts. I mean, I never even got a reply or anything back, so it was just a forwarding of a letter, yes.
You have no idea what happened on December 24th, 2007.
No, I do not.
Okay, and it sounds like you've never spoken to anybody about the details of all the murders that happened.
I did my own research to see exactly what had happened and get an idea, like a rundown of really to find out, there wasn't anything that, I know now, but I mean, back when I had first heard about it, I didn't know anything about it, no.
Did I understand you correctly? You said in some years after your last contact with Michelle Anderson, in the middle of, or in sometime in 2008, you were contacted by lawyers.
Yes.
And do you remember who the lawyers were with? Were they with Mr. McEnroe or Mr. Anderson, or do you remember?
I believe they were for her.
For Michelle
Yes.
Anderson. And then you said you don't remember who the lawyers were, and then you wrote to Michelle.
Yes. So I just wanted to find out what was going on, because I haven't spoke to her, so I hadn't known what had happened. So
How did you know where to write her?
I just did a search.
Okay.
Anything that comes through a computer, I can do. So if I need to find information, I'm pretty much the go-to guy when people want some information found. I can find it. So.
You're one of these computer geniuses?
Pretty much.
Have you been to Washington before?
No, this is the first time.
Because there's a shrine in a place called Redmond. You
Yes.
might want to visit
Yep.
while you're out here.
Yep.
Right? So it sounds like you're the person who reached out to Michelle Anderson and contacted her.
Yes, originally, yes.
And I think you told Mr. Prestia that you offered to help in any way that you could.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a nice guy like that. I try to give. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody that knows me, would say that I'd give, my shirt off my back for them. I mean, if you're a friend until you give me a reason not to be a friend, and then I'll have nothing to do with you, which is not hard for me to eliminate people from my life if they prove to me that they don't want, me in their life. So.
And under the heading of no good deed goes unpunished, 7 years later you're testifying in court.
Yes.
All right. At the time when do you remember how many times that you might have written to Michelle Anderson, or?
The original first letter to give, my number so she could contact me through the jail or whatever. And then when they made the initial first time call charge or whatever, then I had to add money for her to be able to call. And then from then on, I think 2 letters that I wrote back, but she wrote 3 or 4 to me.
All right.
And then the 1 letter that had to be forwarded, which didn't really respond to anything. I just sent that letter in an envelope, and then.
And it sounds like you did that in all innocence, trying to do a favor.
Yeah, I didn't.
At the time when you contacted her, I'm sorry, that was after you first were contacted by her lawyer?
Yes.
So you knew what the charges were, or no?
I mean, they just said that they were building a case. I went and searched myself to find out what was going on, because I had no idea. They just said this person, and all you have to do is put, whoever's being tried for whatever, you just put their name into a search, and you're going to come up with something. I mean. And
So when you contacted her and when you went online and did some research, were you reading not only about the facts of the case, but sort of like how the case was progressing through the courts as well?
so I did at when it first came up, yes. And I mean, I saw the police report, and I mean, you can find anything that you're trying to find. I just wanted to, you know somebody, and then you never expect somebody to do something like that. So you're just like, what would push them to do that? And I was trying to find a reason for myself, really. I mean, you're like, I thought I knew this person, I guess I didn't, type of thing, you know.
When you were doing your online research, were you reading stories about her efforts to sort of get new lawyers back in the spring and the summer of 2008?
No, all that was just what she had brought up to me originally when we first talked.
Were you aware that her ability to contact the outside world had been limited by her lawyers?
No, I didn't. I had no idea.
The fact that you initiated contact with her shows that you're trying to be a good friend.
Yeah.
The fact that she responded to your offer of help is not something that I imagine surprised you.
No, I mean, you know, give a helping hand out. Usually, the person that's asking or not trying to ask for help, but usually they'll take it if they need it. So.
What I'm going to do is, this is going to be a lesson to you, never to put anything in writing. But let me, I'm going to hand you a couple more letters, just to. Let me ask you, when you guys would communicate online and all, it sounds like you guys did a lot of games,
Yeah.
like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Just basically.
Hold on,
See
I'm
that?
gonna do a complete question and a complete answer,
Okay,
just
okay.
cause. Like
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Was one of them,
Yes.
and then you said it. You
And
said yes.
Yes.
And I was going to ask you, tell us a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons. How's that play?
Well, our initial thing is mine were based off character books, the Dragonlance series. It was just I was one of the wizards that's in the book. That was my favorite character. I represented that character. The author of that actual book said that I did a good representation of his character in written speech. You do all the actions, you write out the actions. You're just playing a character, and then they interact with other characters, and then there's, story. You can make up a storyline, or you just wing it, which is how I always played. I mean, I just went with it.
It sounds like there's a lot of role playing in the different games that you play.
Yes.
And is that role playing that is limited to online communications, or do you actually go to functions and conventions and role play as well, or something else?
Well, they didn't have it back then. You can do that now, and yeah, I do attend stuff like that now. Yes.
Okay. Let me hand you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 320, and I'll tell you the last page is the page I think that you have already talked about. Exhibit, I think it's 314. I'll just have you take a quick look at these other pages.
Okay.
Just take a quick look and see if you recognize those pages.
Yep, these are all me.
And if the first page has got a number on the bottom right of 6172.
Yes.
And a date of September 19th, 1999.
I think is that 19 or 18?
1899 or 1999?
No. No, it says September 18th, 1999.
All right, your eyes are better than mine. And then the last page is the one that you've already read from, which is February 27, 2000.
That's correct.
Those look like fair and accurate copies of some of the communications you had with Michelle Anderson starting on September 18th, 1999.
Yeah, these are the actual prints, yes.
Would there possibly be others that I don't have copies of?
Yeah, I wrote a ton of people. I mean, just one of those things. I mean, but I didn't email very many people, so, I mean. but these are my emails, yes.
Okay, very good. The United States would offer was to mark by identification as State's Exhibit 320.
Any objection to 320?
No objection.
320 submitted, thank you. So we're looking at Exhibit 320. I'm not going to have you read that as a record, okay? I promise. I'm just going to read the first line or so myself. Whoa, a really long letter. Hey, I love Brandon Lee and The Crow. It's my all-time favorite movie. I dressed up as him 2 years ago. I looked a dead ringer. The face paint was perfect. The clothing, everything. I love that style and wish I was him when the movie first played in the movies. In fact, my first character in role-playing was the copy of The Crow. You know, they have punctuation, obviously. So
Yes.
it's kind of hard to read that.
Yeah, well, you know.
I'm just teasing. The reason I'm asking you that is, this sounds like, is The Crow a movie that you and Michelle Anderson talked about?
Yeah, it was one of the many things that we had in common, yes.
Because it looks like this is
Yeah.
responding to something that she may have said or you guys may have talked about the movie
Yeah,
The Crow.
yeah. I believe that was a reply to, we were talking about movies or something, and I just happened to say, hey, The Crow was one of my favorite movies, and that was the reply to that.
And was the role-playing involved in sort of your life online with respect to The Crow and Brandon Lee's character?
No, I never had anything to do with that.
And how about in real life then, where it looks like you dressed up for
No,
Halloween
no.
or something else?
Nope, only on Halloween.
And that's what you're talking up there, is you dressed up on Halloween?
Oh, that wasn't, that was that my reply or her reply?
Well, it's signed, I love you, grins, see you sometime later tonight, Stephen.
Oh, okay. Well, I did do that one year, didn't I? Yeah, okay. So I did.
No, I'm not.
No, I mean, it was forever ago, so I had to think about it. But yeah, I did do it as a, but it was like a Halloween thing more than anything. It wasn't just for fun.
Oh, we believe you. We believe you. Okay. And then just looking at the others quickly, the second page is another email from you. You've got it all caps. I love you, Michelle.
Yep.
And then at the very end, love, Stephen. And here you're talking about, this is the third page of this question number 6171. You're talking about Michelle Anderson's voice, and clearly you're expressing affection for her. I'm not going to have you read this into the record.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough?
Yeah, reading is bad enough.
No. And then, second to last page, again, you're expressing more affection and some communication with her.
Yeah.
And then I think this is the page that Mr. Presley had you look at, exhibit, I think it's 314.
Yes.
Where you're just talking about people moved from New Hampshire to Texas.
Yes.
The reason I show you that is, number one, to embarrass you. No. The reason I show you that is, clearly, online relationships can be of a different sort of character than in-person relationships.
Yeah.
And people express affection and strong emotions, and I'm not saying that they're insincere, but that's what you were doing here.
Yes.
And my guess is you're not surprised then when in 2008 you reached out to her, she responded and asked you for help.
Yes.
And it sounds like you were willing to help until you felt like you were being used
Yes.
as a way for her to get a hold of Mr. McEnroe.
Yes.
I think that may be all I have. Just to ask. That's all I have. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
And redirect counsel?
No, Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay, well, Mr. LePage, you may be disappointed to know this, but you're free to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for being here, sir.
Don't write anything ever again.
Have a good day.
You too.
Keep the exhibit. Not that they probably.
And your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, you right back. The defense calls Amber Flider. Ma'am, could you please walk up to that chair and speak to the judge, please?
If you could just step up here and raise your right hand and swear and we'll get started. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please stand.
Good morning.
Hi.
Could you state your name, please, and spell it for the record?
Amber Flider. AMBERPFLEIDERER.
Okay, and just make sure you speak slowly enough that the court reporter can understand it. It's fine. Are you a little nervous?
A little bit. A little bit.
And so we say Flider, not Fliderer?
Flider. Just pretend that second ER isn't even there.
Did you used to say it the other way?
Yeah, back in Germany.
Let me ask you, what is your address, please? Where do you live?
104A Mallets Bay Ave, Winooski, Vermont.
A what?
A. 104A Mallets, MALLETTS, Bay Ave.
And then what was the rest?
Winooski, Vermont, 05404.
Winooski, W-I-N.
OOSKI, sorry.
Okay. Is that near Burlington?
Actually, yeah. 5 minutes across the bridge.
Okay. How long have you lived in Vermont?
Almost 32 years.
And how did you get here?
I flew a lot.
When did you leave home yesterday? What time did you have to be at the airport?
I got to the airport at noon yesterday.
And when did you arrive here in sunny Seattle?
8 o'clock this morning.
Great.
A little after 8.
First trip on an airplane?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. I'm going to ask you a few questions, all right?
All right.
Have you met Joe McEnroe before?
Yes.
How many times before today have you seen him in person?
Once.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about your relationship with him. So would you
Okay.
please tell us, first of all, when did you meet and how did you meet?
We met a lot of years ago online through a role play group.
Through a role play group?
Yep.
Can you give me an estimate? You said a lot of years ago. Do you have an estimate of how many years ago?
15 or more.
Okay. Was it before 2000?
Yes.
And where were you living in Vermont at the time?
Yep.
And where, do you know where he was living at the time?
Either Seattle or Arizona, somewhere in that general vicinity.
Okay.
This side of the country.
Meaning the West Coast?
Yes.
Okay. And was he still living with his mother and his family?
I believe so,
Okay.
but not for long.
Okay.
If
How is it that you met him?
online,
Doing what online?
writing. It was a role play group. We wrote together, made stories, and that's the easiest way to put it.
Could you just give us a short description of what exactly you guys would do?
Uh,
What the writing process was?
He would play a character, I would play a character, and together we would write out a scene, rotating who did what.
Okay, so you would say my character did ABC, and he would say his character did DEF or something
Yep.
like that. Were there other people involved, or was it just you two?
There were other people involved, not all the time, but we had a group.
About how many years did you maintain contact with Joe McEnroe?
I want to say roughly 6, maybe 7, maybe longer, maybe less.
Okay. Was it primarily you two writing together? Did you have any other close friends as part of like a little writing
Yeah.
group? Yes? And
Yes.
Who were the other people?
There's a girl named Tanya, Jolene. There's a couple dudes, I don't really remember their names. Those are about the only names I can remember off the top of my head. It's the only ones that one I don't remain close to, one I do.
Okay. And again, just try to speak a little bit slowly.
Okay.
What was the general subject matter that you guys were writing about?
It was a horror, fantasy, sci-fi blend of that's about it. It was a blend of just different things. It was
This Dungeons and Dragons type stuff, or what?
sort of. It was like Dungeons and Dragons meets World of Warcraft meets Final Fantasy meets StarCraft meets pretty much every game you can think of.
Had World of Warcraft been invented 15 years ago?
Actually, no, but Diablo was.
Okay. over the course of time, did you just do this online collaborative writing with Joe, or did your relationship with him extend beyond that?
Yeah, we were friends outside of just the writing.
How did that come about, and what was the nature of the friendship?
Started with out-of-character conversations that just grew into we spent more time.
It started with out-of-character conversation. I'm sorry, you're going to have to explain what that is to me, please.
Okay, so we would interact as our characters in the writing, and it progressed to we'd have to discuss something that was going on in the scene we were working on as ourselves to figure out where it was going, and it just progressed. Our conversations would progress from there to, hey, how's your day going? What's up? How's life? How's mom? How's your brother? How's your sister on my side? Stuff like that, and it just progressed.
Did he share any details of his home life when he was still living with his mother?
I don't think while he was living with his mom, no.
Did he share details about what that had been like after he moved out?
A little, yeah.
Okay. You said you weren't sure if he was living in Washington or Arizona when you met him.
I don't really remember.
In the course of your knowing him, did he move somewhere else?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Where did he move to?
I remember him living in Seattle, Arizona, North Carolina. That's the last place that I remember before he came out to Seattle the second time. I want to say Nevada, but that doesn't sound right.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, what was your, you would write as your characters, and then you'd have out-of-character conversations. Did you develop a personal friendship with him?
Yeah.
Okay. And once he moved to Fayetteville, is that the town that
Yep.
you lived in? Does that sound right to you?
Yep.
Fayetteville, North Carolina. You were in Burlington at the time, or still somewhere?
Yep, I was in Burlington.
Okay. And did you develop into having phone conversations?
Yes.
What was the nature of that relationship?
I woke him up for work. He went to work. He came home from work. I called. We talked till somebody fell asleep. They were long phone conversations.
That happened frequently?
Pretty much on a daily basis, yeah.
Were you guys online at the same time, or
Sometimes, yeah. We could multitask.
so you'd be on the phone and you'd also be writing the stories?
Yep.
And what kind of things did you talk about?
Everything. How our days were. Futures. What's been bugging us. The standard stuff friends talk about.
Did he ever mention that he felt in danger where he lived from any neighbors or anybody else like that?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did he, you kept in touch with him? Did he seem like a decent guy?
Yeah. I wouldn't have invited him to come visit me if I didn't think he was a decent guy.
Why did you think he's a decent guy? What'd you like?
We had shared interests, shared similar beliefs.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Though our religious and spiritual beliefs were different, they were similar enough that they were cohesive.
Could you give me a general sense of what you're talking about?
My beliefs are a blend of paganism, Wicca, Druidism, Buddhism. It's a blend of many
Sure.
religions. And his, at the time, were similar in that they were shamanistic. It's kind of a branch of the same tree.
What is shamanistic? How does that differ from your Wiccanism and paganism and Buddhism?
It's in the little things and some of the big things. The gods or deities that you believe in are different, but they represent essentially the same thing.
Did you talk to him about having spirit guides at any point?
Briefly, but it wasn't really in depth.
Just tell us what you remember, if you would, please.
It was more of a, do you believe? Yes. Do you think you have one? No. Do you? Yeah.
So wait, who said he thought he had? Who said they had one and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I don't ever have one. Have never, will never. I don't believe in it for me, but if I recall, he did.
Did he say anything about that spirit guide?
was a bird. It was a crow. I think that's what his tattoo was supposed to be.
Okay. Tell us about your meeting with him. How did that come around?
It was a, hey, you want to come visit? Sure, let's work it out. We worked it out.
So did he come to Vermont? How did he get there?
He took a bus.
Bus from Fayetteville to
Yep,
Burlington?
just like 3 days,
I know,
4
it's
days.
24
It was quite a bus ride.
It's like a 24-hour plane ride or something.
Yeah.
Tell us about what that visit was like, and what went on, and what you
It
guys did.
was awesome. We got to know each other face to face. It was like it had been, but better because we were, face to face. We could not only hear the inflections in our voices, we could see expressions, and I gesticulate. I move my hands a lot when I talk, and
You gesticulate?
gesticulate. Ooh.
Okay.
I'm trying really hard not to, so that doesn't happen.
You don't want to gesticulate?
No.
Who were you living with at the time when he visited?
My mom.
Anybody else, brothers or sisters or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. And let me ask you, was your relationship with Joe, was that a romantic relationship?
No, but yes.
Please tell. And
There was a point.
I'm not asking you for details.
Okay.
I'm asking you for the general nature.
Okay, yeah, while he was in it, we did sleep together once.
Okay. But prior to that point, when you had been talking on the phone, was it, honey, I love you, that sort of thing, or was it more of a friendship?
It was more of a friendship. I think it had the potential to be more, but it wasn't.
Did you have the opportunity to observe him interacting with other people while you were there?
Yeah, my family mostly.
And what was that like, and who did he interact with?
My mom, I don't remember if my brother was there. My oldest sister, her husband at the time, my brother-in-law, and their 3 kids.
I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 303. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yep.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Why don't you just identify what is depicted
Okay.
in 303?
There's me.
Wait a second. Don't publish it to the jury yet.
Don't.
Have you ever met Linda Teeley? If you could just
Okay.
look at it yourself and just tell me what's depicted in the image.
Okay. There's me and my sister with Joe between us, and my youngest nephew, Adam.
Okay. And were you present when that picture was taken, since you're in it?
Yeah.
Is that a fair and accurate representation
Yes.
of how it appears? I move for admission of State's Exhibit 303.
Go ahead and object.
Okay, you were present when that picture was taken?
I'm pretty sure I was there.
Excellent. Okay.
If there's no further report here from the State, Your Honor.
I don't think so. It's admitted. Mrs. Keeley took that picture, right?
So, that doesn't appear that well on the, there we go. So are you on the right-hand side of that
Yeah.
picture? Joe's in the middle?
Yep.
And who's the woman on the left?
That's my sister.
And who's the child?
That's my nephew.
Okay. So, let's leave that there for a minute. You observed Joe interacting with your family?
Yep.
Did he get along with them?
Yeah.
Did he get along with them okay, or just
Oh.
or-
He had my nephews crawling on him and wrestling him, horseplay, roughhousing, and my niece brushing his hair and braiding his hair.
And he appeared to be okay with that?
He seemed okay with it.
Why do you're kind of making the motion with your hand? Why are you doing that?
What man is really okay with getting his hair brushed by like an 11-year-old little girl and braided? They suffer it. They suffer through it.
But he appeared to get along with it.
Yes.
Did you anybody else that you observed him interacting with during that time that he was visiting with you in Vermont?
Not really, just family, mom, sister, brother-in-law.
What did you guys do when he was there? I mean, did you go out and take the ferry across Lake Champlain? Or
No, we didn't get to that. We watched the movies. I think we went down to Oakledge, it's a park not far from where I lived. We went over to my sister's for a few days, and I don't really remember what all we did over there.
Okay. And then you took the bus home.
Yep.
After he left, did your relationship kind of go back to what it was before, or was it something different?
It was different, but it wasn't, which totally makes sense in my brain. But
Go ahead, tell us what you mean.
we were still friends. I still think the potential for more was there, but we didn't go beyond that.
You didn't go beyond the friendship?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you, now, did you know Joe during the time that he, well, let me ask you one more question about North Carolina. Did he talk at all about what he did in North Carolina or what his life was like?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, what do you know about that?
He was working at Target, and that was pretty much it. He went to work and went home.
Can you talk about having friends or social contacts?
Not much.
Okay.
A little bit, but mostly with coworkers at work.
Did he say he liked work?
He seemed like he loved working, like he was proud to be working.
Okay. And did you know him when he moved to Washington? Do you know how that came about?
He met what's her face?
You're referring to Michelle Anderson?
Yes, her.
What do you know about how they met, or what did he say about it at the time?
If I believe they met online, and it progressed pretty much the same way it did with me, but in a different direction, romantically as opposed to platonically, and very quickly.
Were you continuing to be in touch with him while he was developing?
At first, yeah.
So, well, tell us what happened. Tell us the progression of your relationship with Joe.
He moved out here.
Did you talk to him about that before he did it? Like, about
Not really. It was I'm moving, and I was like, okay, I guess.
Did he talk to you about, hey, I met a girl, she seems nice, or anything like that?
Not really. Like, there was a little bit of, I met someone, but that was about the extent of it until he was already out here.
Okay. And then what do you know from there? What happened next?
They met. Our routine didn't really change. We still talked on the phone daily, but not as much. And duration of phone calls gradually decreased. And duration, any contact at all, gradually decreased until it just wasn't.
It gradually over what period? Over 4 years, over 1 year, 2 years?
Over like 6 months, if that.
And did you talk to him about this? Did you say, hey, what's going on?
I tried, but I didn't really, by the time that I was like, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you talking to me? Yeah, he had me blocked.
He had you blocked? What do you mean by that?
On AOL, it gives you the option to block other users, so they can't contact you, they can't email you, they can't instant message you or anything. And that was the only email online options that we had at the time. We didn't have like Facebook and all that stuff.
Sure. This is approximately what year, if you remember?
Well, I want to say 2001, 2, somewhere in that range.
Okay. And did you ever, you said you mentioned some mutual friends. Tanya, you mentioned Jolene, is that right?
Jolene, yes.
Do you have any idea whether Joe maintained contact with them after meeting Michelle?
Nope. Longer than he did me, but not by much.
No, you don't have any idea, or no?
Oh, no, he didn't. He stopped contact with them also.
Did you have any conversations with them, like, hey, have you heard from Joe?
Oh, yeah, Tanya and I tried to figure out what was going on for a while, a few months. We had to give up because we just didn't know what was going on.
Did you ever talk to Michelle or meet Michelle?
Briefly, not like meet her, but I spoke with her a few times on the phone before, like, soon after he came out here.
Tell us about those interactions.
They were brief. I'd call, she'd answer, be like, hey, is Joe there? She's like, yeah, hold on, or no, he's not, and we'd chat for a few minutes and either hang up or Joe would get on the phone.
Did you ever have any recollection of what the subject matter was that you chatted about?
Not really. It was like basic pleasantries.
Okay. So when he was in North Carolina, you know that he would work, he would talk on the phone to you. Like when he'd come home, he'd do what? Just call you right away or get online or what?
Get online, call me. It varied day by day, but it would be one or the other.
Okay. How did you learn about the murders in this case? Because you know Joe's been convicted of killing 6 innocent people, including 2 young children. Did that surprise you?
Surprise is putting it mildly, yes.
How did you hear about this?
I received a letter saying that asking me to call in regards to Joe, and that was all the letter said. So I called and said, "Hi, are you sitting down?" And I said yes, and then Mr. Wood told me what happened, and I was really glad I was sitting down.
Who was Mr. Wood?
Richard Wood,
Do you know what his position is?
he, I believe, was an investigator.
For
Joe.
the defense?
For the defense, yeah.
So, would you, based on what you know of Joe, would you say that this incident would be in character or out of character?
Out of character. It was completely shocking to me. I have a lot of friends online and off, and he would have been the last one that I would have pictured or even considered doing this.
But you guys, you said you write D&D or sci-fi and horror. I mean, in these writings, it's like people are getting killed, right? And
Oh, yeah.
dragons and monsters and all
Yeah.
that.
But that's fantasy. It's not reality. The reality, he didn't come across as that kind of guy. Like, he was nice. He was one of the good guys.
Did you form an opinion based on your own observations of what his relationship was like with Michelle Anderson?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why do you say that in that tone of voice?
Oh, I don't like her.
Okay. What was
Or that relationship at all.
Why not? What was it that you observed? What do you believe?
She changed him
How did
very
you-
quickly. In a very short amount of time, she had him, it seemed like, alienated from his friends. And he had few enough as it was.
He had what?
He had a few of them. He had so little of them as it was. Like, there weren't a lot of us that were close to him. And in a short amount of time, there was none of us.
You know Joe likes to draw, right?
Yeah.
There were some pictures that he drew that were admitted into evidence as Exhibit 305. And I'm just going to show you one of these pictures. Do you recognize who that is?
That's me.
Do you know what that was drawn from? Do you recognize it?
Yep.
What was it drawn from?
2 pictures. One, I had gotten a Batman hat, a snapback that I love Batman. I mean, no, that one's Superman, but I love Batman too. There were pictures that I had taken, and I wound up sending to him through your office, I believe.
You know that the allegations against Joe aren't allegations anymore. He did this. He
Yeah.
killed these people.
No, I'm aware of that.
Do you still support him as a friend?
I do. Once a friend, always a friend, and shit happens. Pardon my language, I'm sorry, but it's true. And you can't predict what somebody's going to do, and you don't stop being their friend or caring about them just because they did something horrible.
I have no further questions.
And Mr. O'Toole, do you have a sense of how much time you need for cross-serve?
Probably stick with it.
Okay, fair enough, I just wanted to check. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, please leave your notepads and pens there on the chairs. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Don't do any research. We'll excuse you to the jury room and release you for lunch momentarily, and we'll pick up at 1:30.